I still remember the sound of her laugh. Not the warm laugh she used to have years ago. Not the laugh from our early days. No, this laugh was sharp, cold, and loud enough for the whole courthouse hallway to hear. People turned. A few smiled. Some tried to hide it. But everyone heard her, and everyone looked at me. All because of an $11 shirt. She pointed at me like I was a joke. Seriously, she said. You came to court wearing that? A couple standing nearby chuckled. My wife crossed her arms. Then she slowly looked me up and down, like she was inspecting something embarrassing. I didn't answer. I didn't react. I just stood there. Sometimes silence says more than any argument. The courthouse was one of those big federal buildings downtown. Tall marble columns, wide stone steps. Inside, every sound echoed. Footsteps, voices, the quiet buzz of lights above. Lawyers moved through the hallway with confidence. Dark suits, shiny shoes, leather briefcases. Everyone looked expensive. Everyone looked powerful. Except me. I stood there in a simple navy shirt. Nothing special. No designer logo. Just a shirt from a discount rack. $11. My sleeves were rolled halfway up. My shoes were clean, but plain. And next to me, my wife looked like she was going to a gala dinner. Perfect hair. Expensive handbag. High heels that probably cost more than everything I was wearing. She noticed another woman staring at me. Then she leaned toward her, whispered something. Both of them laughed. Quietly, but not quiet enough. I kept my eyes forward. The courtroom doors were still closed. We had 10 minutes before the hearing. 10 minutes of whispers. 10 minutes of sideways looks. 10 minutes of humiliation. You know something? She said, her voice full of sarcasm. This is exactly why we're getting divorced. I looked at her calmly. What do you mean? She smirked. You never cared about appearances. She pointed at my shirt again. And now look at you. $11 courtroom fashion. A man sitting nearby shook his head. Man didn't even try, he muttered. My wife heard him. Her smile grew wider, like she had just won something. But I didn't react. I simply sat down on the wooden bench, folded my hands, and waited. Marriage doesn't always fall apart in one moment. Sometimes it breaks slowly. Little comments, small insults, quiet disrespect, tiny cracks in the glass. Until one day, the whole thing shatters. Our divorce hearing was supposed to be simple. Divide property, sign papers, walk away. At least, that's what she believed. A bailiff walked down the hallway. Courtroom B opens in 5 minutes. People started standing, adjusting ties, straightening jackets. My wife leaned toward me again. You really should have worn a suit. Her voice sounded casual, but her eyes were sharp. You look like you wandered in from a gas station. A couple walking past heard that. The woman covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. I stood up slowly, still calm, still quiet. Clothes don't change who someone is, I said. She rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You sound like a motivational poster. A few people laughed again. Then something unexpected happened. A man stepped out of the courtroom doors. Older, silver hair, sharp eyes. He stopped walking and looked straight at me. Not at my shirt, not at my shoes, my face, like he was trying to remember something. My wife noticed him staring. She leaned closer to me. Great, she whispered. Now people think you're lost. But the man kept watching, studying. After a few seconds, he walked toward us. The hallway slowly grew quiet. He stopped a few feet away. Excuse me, he said politely. Are you here for the Carter divorce hearing? My wife answered quickly. Yes. Then she gestured toward me. He's my husband. Her tone sounded more like a complaint than an introduction. The man nodded slowly. Then he looked directly at me. May I ask your full name, sir? My wife laughed again. Why? Planning to arrest him for bad fashion? A few people nearby snickered. But the man didn't smile. He waited patiently. I took a breath. My name is Daniel Carter. The moment I said it, the man's expression changed. Just slightly, but enough. He straightened, then gave a small nod. Thank you, he said. Then he turned and walked back toward the courtroom. My wife frowned. What was that about? I shrugged. Maybe he liked my shirt. She rolled her eyes again. You're unbelievable. But through the courtroom window, I saw the man speaking quietly with another official and pointing slightly toward the hallway, toward me. A few minutes later, the doors opened. Carter divorce hearing. The bailiff announced. People began walking inside. My wife walked ahead confidently, her heels clicking on the floor. She looked like someone who had already won. I followed behind, still calm, still quiet. Inside the courtroom, everything looked impressive. High ceilings, dark wood walls, an American flag behind the judge's bench. My wife sat beside her lawyer, a tall man in an expensive suit. He glanced at me once, and leaned toward her, whispered something that made them both smile, probably about my shirt. I sat at my table, alone, no lawyer beside me. People noticed. He came to federal court without a lawyer, someone whispered. This will be quick, another voice replied. My wife looked over at me and gave me a pity smile, the kind you give someone who already lost. Then the courtroom doors opened again. 2 U.S. Marshals stepped inside. They stood near the wall, routine security, nothing unusual. But then, the silver-haired man from the hallway walked in. He sat in the front row, watching quietly. A moment later, the judge entered. Everyone stood. Court is now in session. We sat down again. The judge opened the file, reading quietly. Then he paused. He looked up, right at me. Mr. Carter, he said, please stand. I stood. The judge studied me carefully. Then he asked something unexpected. Are you the Daniel Carter from Arlington? My wife laughed softly. From Arlington? What does that even mean? But the judge wasn't smiling. Neither was the silver-haired man. And suddenly, neither were the Marshals. The judge flipped through the file again. Mr. Carter, he said calmly, were you previously legal counsel for the Arlington Federal Oversight Committee? A quiet murmur spread across the room. I nodded. Yes, Your Honor. The judge continued. And were you the lead investigator in the Arlington corruption hearings? The murmurs grew louder. My wife frowned. What are they talking about? She whispered. Her lawyer stared at me, longer than before, like he was finally recognizing something. The judge looked down again. That investigation led to the prosecution of several federal officials. He paused, then looked at me. You presented the evidence in that case. I nodded again. Yes, Your Honor. Now the courtroom was completely quiet. My wife's lawyer leaned closer to her and whispered something. Her eyes widened. Then the judge spoke again. I also see that Mr. Carter submitted additional documents late yesterday. My wife turned toward me quickly. You filed something? Her lawyer opened his tablet, scrolling fast. His face suddenly went pale. Oh, he whispered. What? My wife asked. He swallowed. Your husband requested a financial disclosure review. She frowned. What does that mean? He took a slow breath. It means the court is reviewing every asset connected to this marriage. A projector lowered from the ceiling. The screen lit up. Bank records appeared. Account numbers, transfers, dates. My wife stared at the screen, confused at first. Then her face slowly lost color. The judge spoke calmly. These documents were submitted by Mr. Carter. He looked toward her. Mrs. Carter, are you aware of the offshore accounts listed here? The whole courtroom looked at her, waiting. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Another document appeared. Property transfers, hidden investments, undeclared income. Her lawyer closed his eyes briefly, like he already knew what this meant. The judge folded his hands. These records suggest financial activity that was not included in the divorce filing. The room felt heavy. My wife finally spoke. This must be a mistake. The judge looked at her calmly. That is what we will determine. Then he asked me a question. Mr. Carter, how did you obtain these records? I stood slowly, calm, quiet. Your Honor, I said, I didn't obtain them. The judge raised an eyebrow. They were sent to me. By whom? I glanced toward the front row, then back at the judge. By the Financial Compliance Office. The room went silent again. The judge nodded slowly. Then he looked toward the Marshals. Just a brief glance. But they understood. They stepped forward. My wife saw them. Her voice trembled. Wait, what's happening? One Marshal spoke calmly. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. Her confidence was gone. Completely gone. The same woman who laughed at my shirt earlier now looked terrified. As they guided her toward the aisle, she looked at me, searching for answers. But I stayed quiet, just like I had all morning. The courtroom doors closed behind them. Silence filled the room. The judge looked at me again. You handled this situation with remarkable patience. I nodded slightly. I prefer facts over arguments, Your Honor. The judge smiled faintly. Then he said something simple. You were right about one thing. I waited. Clothes don't change who someone is. The gavel struck. Court adjourned. Outside the courthouse, the sun felt warm. The air was quiet, peaceful. I stood on the steps for a moment, thinking, not about money, not about the case, but about something simpler. How quickly people judge. How fast they decide your worth. All because of a shirt, or a car, or a title. But real respect doesn't come from what you wear. It comes from how you carry yourself. When people underestimate you, when they laugh, when they think you've already lost, and you stay calm anyway. That $11 shirt? I still have it. Not because it's special, but because it reminds me of something important. Dignity doesn't need an expensive outfit, just quiet confidence. And sometimes the people laughing at the beginning are the quietest by the end. If this story resonated with you, let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.